You know, when Charlize Theron won her Academy Award for the movie Monster, she was seen later that night smoking out of an apple pipe. You know, that you make with a veggie pipe there. You know, I don't know, she got lots of money, but she only had a $10 pipe and a convenient apple on hand. But she was smoking and celebrating her Academy Award with that pipe. You're going to find actors and actresses and playwrights and musicians all smoking pot that do the great work. You know, you're going to find athletes in every endeavor, powerlifters, weightlifters, you know, snowboarders, skiers. They're all smoking pot if they're the best. Swimmers are smoking pot. World greatest writers, and not just William Shakespeare, but Toulouse-Lautrec, the great painter, or Charles Baudelaire, the great writer, and so on it goes. We have an unbelievable legacy. We've contributed more to the greatness of this world. Imagine if you went to your prohibitionist friends and said, let's go through your record collection, and just to make sure you're consistent in your beliefs, irrational and hateful as they are, but at least if you're going to be consistent, you got to get rid of all your records. All that music, all that entertainment that came from the genius of weed, you can't let that stay in your house. Come on. Wouldn't that be hypocritical to enjoy the fruits and benefits of all these great things that the marijuana people have given you, while at the same time condemning them and spiting them and hunting down and electing people that treat them like dirt and want to put them in jail and ruin their lives? There's the question for you to ask. Because here's the alternative. Well, I was going to get to that too. The country, this country here, like there's a lot of cool things you don't know about cannabis. First of all, we've been growing marijuana for 400 years, from 1535 to about 1924, 25, even as late in Ontario as 1952 at the Sid Fraley farm. We were growing cannabis sativa by thousands and thousands of acres in every province from Quebec right through to British Columbia for 400 years. And yet no one knows about that. No one knows that we grew it all because cannabis was used to build all the sails and all the rigging of every ship that ever went down the St. Lawrence from 1535 to about 1820. And it's true all over the world. You don't even know, for example, that Napoleon invaded Russia in 1812, not because he didn't like Russians, it's because they had huge thousands and thousands of acres over that vast stretch of flat land growing hemp, cannabis sativa. And Napoleon's ports and everywhere blocked by the British. He had a real shortage of hemp because they weren't growing a lot of hemp in Europe because they don't have the land available, and he needed an awful lot. The chief port in Europe for hemp exporting was Riga in Latvia. He had to invade Latvia to seize the port to get all the hemp. Then he had to invade Russia to try and get all their hemp. And what the Russians did that surprised him is they scorched the earth. They burnt all their hemp fields so that Napoleon couldn't get them. As they retreated in 1812, the Russians just simply burnt everything behind them, and Napoleon had nothing to benefit for this folly of invading Russia in 1812. All because he needed cannabis sativa so bad that the British had blockaded them and had prevented him from getting any hemp from any other source. You don't even know. You know, I'm going to jail for 5 years, and what did I do? I sold seeds with no drug quality that help you and everybody else produce the greatest plant ever put on this planet to make you the greatest person you can be and enter the pantheon of great contributors to our society like pot has done. That's what I did. That's what I did. But you know what? They said on television that the DEA said I was the largest producer of marijuana in the history of anyone ever brought before the U.S. criminal justice system. They said I was responsible for 1.1 million pounds in the 11 years I was selling seed, worth $3 billion worth. And you know what? If it's true, I'm proud of that. What more can I tell you? That was what the idea was. Let's overgrow the government. Let's have a botanical, peaceful revolution. But you know what? I would not be, in fact, the greatest producer of marijuana in the history of U.S. criminal justice. Well, maybe the criminal justice system, but I've got a wonderful antecedent. Because the largest marijuana producer before me, allegedly, and was definitely the founding father of the United States, George Washington. George Washington, from 1762 to 1789, when he became President of the United States, was the largest landowner, the wealthiest landowner in America. He had hundreds and hundreds of slaves working thousands and thousands of acres of hemp. And he kept copious diary notes. We know all this not from speculation or checking his pipes, because there are none of George Washington's pipes around, or they'd be fascinating to test. Right? Because he was a smoker, and he grew 12 different varieties of cannabis, including one he called Indian hemp, which he always paid special attention to in his diary notes. Now, typically, Indian hemp is referred to as cannabis indica in regular parlance. So George Washington, for all we know, may have been smoking. I have actually seen lots of people say he did smoke it, but I have never seen a diary note or any kind of corroborative proof of it. And I'm an editor, and I don't repeat anything to you unless I verified it. So everything I've told you tonight is true, and I got lots more to tell, but everything I've told you is true, and if you need to check it out, look up. Cannabis cures Alzheimer's, or cannabis cures cancer, or cannabis helps multiple sclerosis, or cannabis and Crohn's disease. You're going to find that it's amazing what you haven't been told, what's out there. George Washington was the biggest pot farmer in the history of the United States, and he was the first president and is considered almost a sacred icon. So how did we get from then to now, where George Washington is the largest cannabis farmer, to now where we're hunted down and scapegoated like dogs, animals, and dealt with terribly, just terribly. There's no justification. We've given the world its great music, its great technology. Every video game you've ever played comes from a pothead. Every one of them. There's no doubt of that. Every one of them came from a pothead. Your computer systems came from a pothead. Most of your music came from a pothead. The great architecture, movies, and science of the day comes from a pothead. The head of Canada's space program. You probably didn't even know we had a space program. It's called the MOST Project, the Molecular Oscillation of Stars Telescope. We've got our own star satellite in the heavens that is looking at the age of the universe and the expansion of the universe, and Jamie Matthews is the director of that program, and that guy smokes more hash than I've ever seen anybody smoke. And I've smoked it with him many times. Every form of greatness out there today producing beautiful, cutting-edge things are the work of a pothead, and there's almost no exceptions to it. Almost no exception. Right? And it's pretty incredible, too. Because, I mean, it'd be different. Like, for example, I'm going to talk about all the things that are illegal and how they're killing you and how they come with a lie. Right? I mean, tobacco, for example, the reason tobacco kills you is it works in the exact opposite way of marijuana. Whereas marijuana opens up your arteries to deliver more blood. Whereas marijuana makes tumors shrink. What happens when you smoke nicotine or even chew nicotine? If you chew nicotine, you're going to get cancer of the tongue, cancer of the esophagus, cancer of the larynx, get a big chunk out of the side of your lung. You don't even need to smoke it because nicotine is a vasoconstrictor. And for example, cannabis is a vasodilator. Dilating means bigger, and constricting means making tighter, tinier. And so when you smoke nicotine and your lungs are getting that nicotine, all of a sudden your arteries are tinier and you kind of get less oxygen. So people who smoke tobacco are constantly struggling to get enough oxygen to their lungs. Their lungs are being starved for oxygen. And then they add the tar, and then you add all the irritating things in tobacco, and you get development of cancerous and necrotic cells. But because you're not smoking cannabis, there's no way to destroy them, no way to break them down, so they build up and get aggravated. So people are coughing and hacking and having a hard time breathing. Nicotine can only make your health worse, right? So it's not like, and here's the thing, half the time when I'm on tour I wear hemp pants. Right? And a lot of the time we have hemp bars where you're eating, and hemp cereal we have at home, and you can get hemp cheeses and hemp hearts. We throw those onto our spaghetti sometimes, right? Because they have more omega-3s than anything else. And I know my mom used to pour cod liver oil down my mouth when I was a kid. It's brain food. You have to have this, and it tasted terrible. Well, the only thing on earth that has more omega-3 than the cod liver oil my mom used to put down my mouth, and my brain is in great shape. My memory is really good. And, you know, it worked. My mom was smart. I thank her for pouring that cod liver oil down now. But she could have done me just as big a favor by putting hemp hearts down, the inside of hemp shells, down my mouth. Because they are loaded with omega-3s that are great for your brain. Right? You can buy hemp cereals. You can buy hemp bread. You can wear it. I mean, hey, it'd be different if tobacco, you could make clothes out of tobacco. Or, you know, it was like really incredibly nutritious for you. But tobacco just kills you. Right? But marijuana, not only does it produce genius amongst the people, not only is it going to keep us healthy, not only will it cure diseases and make your life a better place if you've got illnesses, but you can wear it, you can eat it. I mean, let's face it, there's nothing like this plant anywhere on earth, so why are we hunted down like animals? Why hasn't everybody embraced this plant? Why aren't we all smoking? All 30 million of us, why aren't we all smoking marijuana? Why aren't we all taking it in our foods and wearing it? Because here's the thing, you know, everything that I'm going to talk to you about now that's illegal, it comes with a lie. Not a single element of it comes from Canada. Every joint you ever smoked, every pot bust you ever saw was all in Canada. $7 to $14 billion every year, and it's all Canadian. It all comes from here.